today by Tom Barton. Tom, how are you, sir? I'll let you
I'm
finish all
good,
the
thank
stuff.
you. Sorry, yeah,
It's all
I'm
good.
all good.
Great stuff. So listen, you're co-founder of the UK's fastest growing big burger chain. How is Honest Burgers? How's it doing? You obviously just went for a raise, which you and got kind of good funding for next stage. How are you looking? How's it looking?
Yeah, good. I mean, it's obviously been interesting space for hospitality the last sort of 3 years, but no, we had a really successful crowd raise. We smashed our target by nearly 300%. We've just about completed last week. We've just done our record week of all time, and that beat the week before that, which was the biggest week we'd ever done. So yeah, it's looking good. Obviously there's still some challenges. As I said, hospitality is battered and bruised, and we're still kind of a little bit hungover from COVID, but we're getting there.
How do you keep a positive outlook when kind of the industry has been beaten up over the last few years?
I mean, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head down. Focusing on things that matter. And for us, that's really simple. Just standards. Good food, good service. Um, Trying to create a brand that people believe in, which sounds a bit cheesy, but that's as much for people that work for us as it is for people that eat with us. I think there's too many wishy-washy businesses out there that don't really have a purpose on this planet,
Mm.
and we're trying to be a brand with purpose.
And I think kind of leading on to that nicely, because obviously honest farming, sustainability, and kind of everything you are passionate about. Was it always from the outset, or is this something that kind of has become more of a kind of a purpose as the honest journey has gone on?
I think it's always been the word honest above our door has always been this kind of, we always call it, it's like this brilliant burden that we've all got as founders to have on us, because if you're called something that means something, you have to try and live up to it. Otherwise, it's very easy to see through it. So if we didn't try and live up to that word, then I think our people would feel a little bit, they wouldn't really get what they're working for. So it's definitely become a bigger thing recently, where that word has been a real weight on me. And I've seen, you'd have to have been living in a ditch to not see some of the issues that farming, beef in particular, has gone through the last few years. And I feel like it's come out of the other side now, where people are they're looking into it with a bit more of a magnifying glass and actually seeing that food is very complicated. Um, Beef and animal products are particularly complicated, and it's not as simple as just eat plants, they're good, don't eat meat, it's all bad.
Mm.
It's far more nuanced, and I learned that, and went really deep into that kind of rabbit hole. And honest farming emerged out of it, and it's something that we're super proud of, because we genuinely believe we're doing as much good as we possibly could be with our food supply chain, and that's what restaurants need to be trying to do, and just stop kind of kicking the can down the road.
And do you think this is this consumers getting more kind of knowledgeable and therefore questioning more, or does it need to be led by the industry?
I wish it was consumers, but consumers are busy, consumers are struggling, consumers are, they're as battered and bruised as hospitality, right? No one's sort of feeling too rosy about the outlook. I think in the world, let alone just our little kind of microcosm in London and
Mm.
beyond. So I think industry has to educate consumers, and I would love consumers to be more proactive and ask more questions and be a bit more choosy, because consumers, you determine change by where you spend your money. That's the simplest way. If everyone decided tomorrow we're only going to buy regenerative beef, there would be regenerative beef. There'd be more than we would know what to do with, because industry would get involved, governments get involved.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's not that simple. So yeah, although I really believe consumers should be more curious about what they put in their body, not just food, but anything. We should be treating our bodies with as much respect as we can, and very few of us do, me included, half the time. But what you eat, I think, is the be all and end all of your health. I really do. I think healthy diet, and exercise. That is you looking after your body and starting about what you put in and where that food comes from. And I'm saying this knowing full well we sell burgers and chips. I know that these aren't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a healthy meal, but I know where it's from. We're happy to tell you where it's from, and we all need that day where we just want to, we want to just have a nice big meal, big feed, and I think that's what honest should be for people.
And so is that the critical question that a consumer should go in when they go into any restaurant? Is question the provenance of the
I mean, yeah, I really do think that. Like most restaurants, I don't know which one is worse. Either they don't know where their food's from, or they don't want to know where their food's from.
right?
You go to. I mean, this is where someone like McDonald's. I actually have quite a lot of respect for what McDonald's does because they're very proactive. They're very open book about where their food comes from, and they actually treat their farmers very well. You
Mm,
go to lots of big restaurants, big brands that have a lot of trust from their consumers. There is nothing about where their food comes from, literally nothing. Their supply chain, look at some of the big chicken brands. Where does all that chicken come from? What are the welfare standards? What are they trying to do to mitigate some of the terrible welfare, and not just welfare but environmental impacts of a supply chain where you're going through billions of chickens? Like it's pretty scary, and for us, we're just trying to shine a light on actually there is a way that brands can be more proactive, and there is a
mm.
way that brands can be proud of where their food comes from and show people. And we're very much not there yet. By the way, we're trying to get our regen and our honest farming levels up to sort of 50%. That's the goal. We're about 30% now, and we need to start educating our customers better because we're rubbish at it.
Mm.
And that's a big project for us next year. But it's hard because, we could talk about this for hours and still only really scratch the surface. And when you've got a customer who's in a restaurant for 25 minutes, you've got this kind of tiny window to try and educate them. And some people just want to have a burger. They don't want to be
Yeah,
preached to, right?
yeah, absolutely. They just want a good time. Let me ask them kind of vegetarianism and veganism. Obviously, kind
Yeah,
of we've seen a massive growth kind of over the last 10 years, but in the last year or so, maybe there's been a lot of push, certainly in the media, about
yeah.
kind of this. What's your take on the industry as such and where it's at?
I mean, this may surprise people, but I think we should all be eating a mostly plant-based diet. I just think it's got a little bit extreme in terms of veganism and this kind of belief structure that sits around veganism, as opposed to some of the cold hard facts. And obviously, it's a very emotive subject, so you've got very passionate, very qualified people from all angles
Mm,
spouting totally opposite of the argument. I think the concern I would say is people going vegan and eating an entirely sort of hyper processed plant based diet is not the answer. You're
mm,
you're going. I think one thing we should all be very aware of is ultra processed junk food is exactly that. Like it's doing nothing for the supply chain that it's grown up from. I would argue it's doing a lot more worse, a lot worse for the environmental credentials
yeah.
of some of those supply chains than beef supply chains, which is a pretty explosive thing to say, but I do actually believe that. And it's really bad for your body if you're just eating that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think it's the media obviously got stuck into it big time.
Yeah.
They seem to have got bored of it now and have started talking about lots of other things. Um, but yeah, I think ultimately, I think we should all just be eating, whole foods, lots of plants. Um, I think animal products are really good for our health, and
Mm.
through the right supply chain, can be really good for the environment as well.
Great stuff. Listen, let me ask one last question. Obviously, kind of it's been an exciting year for Honest Burgers. You've mentioned a few things that are going on. What are you most looking forward to 2024 for you guys?
We're trying to get our new QSR concept. So that's a quick service restaurant. So, think of it as counter, even better value than Honest Burgers, a little bit more informal, going to be based around smash burgers. That was a big part of our crowd raise
Yeah.
that we did. So yeah, same, the same things and love about Honest, just done faster, better value. and a slightly different menu around Smash Burger. So I'm well excited to get stuck into that.
Love that. Can I just ask one other question, which I should have asked? How was the crowdfunding experience and kind of your opinions of the market?
It's interesting, yeah. I mean, it's stressful, really stressful, because you open the door and you have no idea what's coming really.
Yeah.
And there's big peaks and surges, and you're kind of right up to the wire thinking, what are we going to do? I mean, it's an interesting market. We're not the kind of absolute target market for crowd raise because we're quite an established business. A lot of the businesses going in the crowd are, they're brand new. They've got very little trading. Most of them aren't making any money. And they're very tax efficient in terms of SEIS and EIS. So for us as an established business with 11 years of accounts, peaks and troughs through that, lots of growth. I think we were a slightly different proposition, but like I said, we were very happy. We did our target by 300%, and now we've got a loyal fan base of sort of 3,000 people that we need to make sure we keep them happy.
Brilliant. Tom, thank you so much for your time today. Been lovely chatting.
No worries. Thanks a lot, man. Cheers.
Cheers.